All right. So we're going to have to go upwards again.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to get the orientation right. All right, this is max brightness. Max brightness. So I got to work with this. All right. Welcome to Scout Team Sports. I'm your host, DeValian, and we're getting into it today for this weekend, filled with sports, if you will. We're going to start from the back and then work our way to the front, just because I want to go over college football first and the college football national championship. So glad I was wrong in last week's predictions that and I said that I hope I was wrong. Alabama and Texas lost, and now we have the two undefeateds, the two rightful heirs to the championship opportunity, if you will, that in Washington and Michigan, the number 2 and number 1 undefeated teams, respectively. Not going to spend too much time on this, but just understand that I want this thing. I'll go over what I want first. I want Michael Penix to win. I really don't care too much about anybody else on the Washington team, but I want Michael Penix to win. Black quarterbacks, yes, that's what it's about. I don't really care too much about Michigan, but I kind of want Harbaugh to win because I think him winning will make him stay. I don't want him going back to the pros. I think it's too much drama, too much, whatever else. But then again, maybe if he wins, he leaves because that's another hill that he's finally conquered. And now the only thing left to do would be to win a Super Bowl, which he hasn't done yet. He's gotten close, but didn't win when the Niners faced the Ravens and he was coaching. I don't know if that really bugs him. I would think he would I would hope that he would much rather stay at Michigan and build a dynasty there. I mean, even with the whole thing about him getting suspended for those games and the videotaping, I mean, those things follow you. I mean, don't think you can go to the NFL and that's not going to be a problem if something comes up again. Then what if it happens at the pro level? Just like Belichick is done. I mean, it happened with Belichick. They served their punishment, but he stuck around. Josh McDaniels did it. He still got head coaching positions. So, Michigan does it and Harbaugh gets suspended, but then one of his staff gets fired, but he's still allowed to come back and coach, in the conference championship game and, of course, the college football playoffs. So I don't see the whole penalty and the suspension being a thing that deters him from staying in college football. I'm not saying whether he was right or wrong, whether he's guilty or not, but I don't see going to the pros as a method of escape for him. Because if you do it at the pro level, then what? If it's leaked or somebody in your under your watch and your coaching staff cheats or does something, you're going to get suspended at the pro level too. And it was a couple games in college. In the pros, when he's already had a track record of that, and they've already had to deal with Bounty Gate with Sean Payton, and they've already had to deal with Deflate Gate, and already had to deal with Videotape Gate in New England. They're going to come, if something happens with Harbaugh at the pro level, they're going to come down really hard on him. I would say at least probably a full year suspension, just like they did Sean Payton, because they don't want any more of that. They don't want any more of that. And so college football, yeah, they'll probably come down hard on him if it happens again. But, I mean, they suspended him a couple games and they're still allowing him to coach. He still has a possibility to win a national championship, even with the possible cheating scandal. So, I don't see, like I said, if he goes to the pros because he wants that Super Bowl. He wants that coaching Super Bowl. But not as a method to get away from college football because he was accused of, even though he said he was innocent, and he got suspended for, stealing signs. So I don't see that. I don't see leaving college football or going to the pros as a method from getting away from that turmoil, if you will. But I would like to think that if he wins at Michigan, he's a Michigan guy technically. If he wins at Michigan, wins the national championship, their first national championship since '97, I would think that he would want to stay and build a dynasty. I just don't see the pros as, because and then with the most likely teams are saying he's going to the Chargers. You can with a good quarterback you can do some good things, but keep in mind you're in the same division as Pat Mahomes, and he ain't going nowhere. And they're not always going to be as bad as they are this year. And then you're dealing with a loaded AFC, and I don't really see any team that's good in the NFC that needs a head coach that he would want to go to, or that he could go to, because all the good teams in the NFC have their coach already, unless somebody just wants to fire their coach and they just want Harbaugh so bad because of the big name. I don't really see that, so I don't really see the pros as a good fit for him right now. But yeah, if he wants to chase that Super Bowl ring, okay. But let's get to the game itself. Again, wanting Michael Penix to win is one thing, but reality is overall, this will probably be the toughest defense that Washington has faced in the Michigan D. Will they shut down the Washington offense? No. But will Washington just score all over them? No, I don't believe that. They'll neutralize each other. When you have two mega powers in that regard, they're going to neutralize each other more often than not, meaning it'll be about half and half. Sometimes Washington will gain the advantage and they'll score. Sometimes Michigan will stop them, and they'll have to turn the ball over via punting the football. Or if they go for the fourth down and they don't get it. I think the biggest ordeal is the other side of the ball. Remember, I always talk about weakest links. The weakest link, even though I'm not saying either one of them is weak, is Michigan's offense versus Washington's defense. That's, to me, the big matchup. It's not Washington's offense and Michael Penix Jr. versus Michigan's stout defense. But we'll go over that in terms of course, the tail of the tape. In terms of points scored, their average is about the same, with Washington at 37.6 and Michigan at 36, so that's about the same. Pass yards, of course, it's Washington with 355, averaging to Michigan's 229. But then every other category is Michigan. Rushing yards, 159 to 123. And I would dare say if Blake Corum gets loose against that Washington's defense, he probably can gain 200 yards. Because Washington's D is not impressive to me. But he can get 200 plus. He can get 200 yards rushing. If he does that, to me, it's over. Because if Washington's D can't hold up and it's all on Michael Penix Jr., that's too much against a stout Michigan defense, plus a Michigan offense that's running amok on his defense, on his team's defense. But then you go to points per game. Washington averages allowing 24 to Michigan only 10. And then pass yards, Washington allows 277, Michigan allows 170. Rushing yards, Washington allows 137, and Michigan allows 93. I think Washington's defense is the weak link. Washington's defense is the weak link, and that's going to be why they lose. Because if you have a strong offense in Washington and they don't have the help of their defense, you're going up against a Michigan team that can get it done on offense and defense. I'm not really worried about the coaching duel. Harbaugh is Harbaugh, but I believe the Washington's coach, he's been around the block for a while too. So he can coach good enough to win a national championship, but I don't think his defense is going to hold up. And like I said, when Washington's offense, Michael Penix Jr. and then Michigan D going back and forth, when it gets to the other side of the ball on the possession and it's Michigan's offense, And J.J. McCarthy leading the passing game, and then Blake Corum running the ball. I think Blake Corum probably have a big game here. And if their offense is clicking and Washington can't stop them, I don't think that's just too much on Michael Penix Jr. It's too much on the Washington offense if their defense is not going to help them. The defense doesn't show up, and Michigan's offense and defense shows up, that's too much. So I'm going to pick Michigan to win this football game. Again, I hope I'm wrong in the sense that I want Michael Penix to win. I really would have liked him to get the Heisman, but he didn't. I want him to get something before he goes to the pros. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe, Michigan needs to win in order for Harbaugh to stay, or maybe he leaves because if he conquers this, then the only thing left for him to conquer is getting a Super Bowl at the pro level. And he's the opposite of his brother, where, Harbaugh, win or lose, draw, he's a longevity guy. He stays with the team, grows with the organization. And it seems like, his brother Jim is just as good a coach as he is. Some would say better, but Jim's always looking for the next thrill. He's a thrill seeker. So it's like he's looking for the next thrill, whereas John Harbaugh is more even keel, but Jim is looking for the next thrill. So maybe if he finally wins, for a long time they couldn't beat Ohio State, finally beating Ohio State on a consistent basis 3 years in a row, gets to the college football playoff, gets embarrassed by TCU last year. Now finally have gotten one step closer the next year to the national championship game. If he gets over the top and wins it, maybe he does leave and go to the NFL because he wants that Super Bowl ring. Like I said, he's a thrill seeker. He's the total opposite of his brother. So who knows? But I think that Michigan does win this game because I don't think Washington has it defensively to help out their offense enough in this game. So that'll be that. And I will be watching that game at a local sports establishment near me. But now we get to the NFL. Week 18. Bittersweet extra week here. Week 18 in the NFL because half these games don't matter. And then the other half of the games, you kind of can sort of predict them. And as far as the playoff spots that are left, it is kind of tricky and maybe exciting in the AFC. Not much to talk about in the NFC. Only 2 spots available. And it's about who's going to win the week NFC South and who gets that last and 7th playoff spot. And then in the AFC, it's whoever's going to win the AFC South and then get those last 2 spots. But also you got the kink in the armor as far as Buffalo and Miami. So we'll get into that right now. I want to say I appreciate all my subscribers and viewers. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe as we continue to grow this channel. 3 years starting in May of 2020 in the pandemic. I was on Anchor and then transitioned to YouTube earlier this year with the start of this football season in August, and just keeping the ball rolling. So I'm just continuing to keep it going. I was actually on Colorcast as well. I was really enjoying that before they changed that sports broadcasting platform to a sports betting. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. So I was off of that. Had a little bit of fan base going there, but now I'm on YouTube and trying to get this thing growing here with what I have available. So we're going into the NFL week 18. We got 2 Saturday games. One is kind of null and void. We'll start with that one. It's Steelers at Ravens. The Ravens have already locked up the AFC North Championship and home field advantage in the AFC. So this game does not matter for them. They've already said, it's already been reported, they're resting a lot of players, and rightfully so. And you've got the Steelers who are trying to, still on the bubble, trying to make the playoffs. So I think the Steelers get this just because the Ravens will rest so many players, and that will allow Mason Rudolph and company and the Steelers to win the football game. Probably still be a low-scoring game. But nonetheless, I think the Steelers get the win here, but I don't think that will be enough to get them into the playoffs. It's sad, but because of what else is going on in the AFC, your other Saturday game is Texans at Colts. I think Texans get the win here because they have a better quarterback. I guess he'll be going up against a tougher defense. But I don't think the Colts offensively will have enough. They had enough to beat the Raiders in their defense, but the Raiders don't have good enough offense last week. But I just think C.J. Stroud is the guy. He is the guy, one of the best quarterbacks of the future. To me, he's a rookie of the year. And so I think he leads his team. A healthy C.J. Stroud will lead his team to this win. But will they either get the division title? The only way that happens is if they beat the Colts and the Jaguars lose, or they end up with the 7th seed in the playoffs, and then they would face the 2 seed if the Jaguars win and the Texans win and they get the 7th seed. So I'm thinking more than likely that's what's going to happen because Jaguars have it a little too easy in the last week of their season. But we'll get to that game when we get to it. But yeah, I got Texans over Colts. That's their second Saturday game. Then we get to the Sunday games. Bucks at Panthers. I think Bucks will win this just because the Panthers are so bad, which will give them the division title and snuff out any possibility of any of the other bad teams who could still possibly win the division if the Bucks lose. That being the Saints and the Falcons. It's crazy that mathematically the Falcons are still in this thing. But I think the Bucks get it done because, again, the Panthers are so bad. And so the Bucks win the division with Baker Mayfield against the bad Panthers. And they win the NFC South and will get annihilated in the first round by the 5th seed. But it is what it is. Here's another interesting wrinkle and one that I'm hoping for as a Raider fan. Yes, my Raiders were eliminated by losing to the Colts. But here come the Browns. As I said before, the Browns to me are really the only threat, or at least the biggest threat in the AFC to the Ravens. I'm calling it like I did last week, calling it again this week. It's either going to be Ravens or Browns going to the Super Bowl from the AFC. The Dolphins don't have it. The Bills could kind of sort of make a third place spot. But if you put the Bills in the Browns head up, I'm taking the Browns with Joe Flacco and that crazy defense. Same thing with the Ravens. I don't see any other team. I don't see the Dolphins having it. Chiefs definitely don't have it this year. The Bills are kind of, they make their strides, but then, sometimes they barely beat bad teams, which is the same MO for the Eagles, which is why the Eagles have dropped off. Because they barely beat bad teams, and then when they face good teams, then they show their true colors. But yeah, I think the Browns here, maybe they rest people too. I don't know. Maybe they rest people. It'll be great for them to get 12 wins, but they can't win a division. Maybe they rest people here. I'm kind of hoping that they do, because if they were to somehow drop to the 6th seed, that's exactly what I want, because that means they face the Chiefs in the first round. The Chiefs are going to be the 3rd seed. They would face the Chiefs in the first round, and they'll annihilate the Chiefs. That's what I want. So, call me biased, but I don't want the Chiefs. I want the Chiefs one and done. You guys didn't do well this year. Just stop it. Go away this year. It's okay. You've been in the AFC championship game 5, 7, 8, 9, 11 years in a row ever since Brady's been gone. So yeah, give it a rest. And all the complaining that they're doing and stuff, and I'm like, no. They finally face adversity for the first time, and seems like they can't handle it. You used to being on top for so long, and used to having a bye week, and used to being the number 1 seed, and the last time you were the number 2 seed, you still had a bye. So, yeah, too bad for them. But yeah, I'm hoping that the Browns kind of, maybe they lose and they drop to the 6th seed. The Bengals are still fighting for a possible playoff spot. Technically, they're not eliminated yet. But hold on, let me check that. Let me check that here. My mistake. They are eliminated. Technically, they are eliminated. So the Bengals are eliminated, so they cannot make the playoffs here. But again, does this really help the Browns because they're in the playoffs, but they can't win in their division? So I don't think at this point, whether the Browns are the 5th or 6th seed, I don't think that matters to them. They can't be the 7th, but they could be the 6th seed if they lose, and depending on what happens between Buffalo and Miami, maybe it's possible they could drop down to the 6th seed. I'm hoping so, just because I want them to face the Chiefs in the first round. So I will pick, just because maybe they rest players as well, because they can't really do anything to advance their seeding or increase their seeding. Maybe I'm thinking that they lose to the Bengals and rest players and get ready for the playoffs. And they kind of treat this week 18 like their bye week. Next, you've got Vikings at Lions. Lions, I really thought they won that game. I'm not with the whole call in terms of, the players. Like, first of all, when it comes to a lineman sharing that he's eligible and a referee that you saw was there and he came over there and then he kind of just brushed it off like it wasn't important. I really wasn't with that. I'm not going to say what was rigged and was not, but I think that was just poor on the referee's fault. That's not the player's fault. Second of all, whenever a lineman is coming over to a referee, especially an offensive lineman, that's usually the only thing that he's going to be talking about to a ref is that he's eligible. Offensive linemen, for the most part, do not go over and complain to the refs when there's a penalty or something like that, because they pretty much know it's their fault. Most of the time, linemen know they were holding, they get called for it. They don't go over and complain to the refs. That's the quarterback complaining to the refs. And then it's defensive players complaining to the refs. You rarely see offensive linemen complaining to the refs, because anytime they get penalized for something, they know what it is. And they know they were doing it. I would say they're the most honest when it comes to the whole penalty thing. And that was clearly not a penalty situation, because it was a 2-point conversion that they were going for. So if a lineman comes to you and needs to talk to you as a referee, and it's right before a 2-point conversion play, what else would he be talking to you about? What else would he be coming over to you about? The fact that you brushed him off is ignorant. You can't do that as a referee. And to me, a lot of times, referees get a bad rap. They say referees get a bad rap. They're out there trying to do their job. But I'm not going to go with the overall. I'm going with that instance. I'm not going to blanket statement referees. But in that instance, that was a bad call, because he knew that lineman was eligible. And if he didn't see it and he saw that lineman coming over to him, his bad for brushing him off and not hearing what he had to say. You can't tell me that he couldn't have stalled a couple more seconds before starting the next play and getting ready for the next play. That is on the referee. The lineman came over there and he's signaling with his chest. That means you're eligible. If a lineman's coming to you, like I said, it's only defensive players, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks that are coming over to talk to a referee for anything, and usually it's complaining about a penalty. This was none of those instances. If an offensive lineman comes to talk to you, there's only one thing he's going to be talking to you about as a referee. So that's on the referees. Anyway, that was the difference in the game, and the Cowboys become the 2 seed, Lions are the 3 seed, because the Cowboys are not losing to the Commanders. So this game, they want to put their best foot forward, the Lions do, and just in the case that it's possible that the Cowboys could lose, they don't want to lose themselves because they're resting everybody, and then the Cowboys lose, we could have won the 2 seed. They don't want to do that. So they will beat the Vikings, but probably still be the 3rd seed. Next, you got Jets at Patriots. Doesn't really matter. Both are eliminated from the playoffs. The quarterback situation is dire for both teams, but Bailey Zappi technically is better than anything the Jets have. which is not saying anything. So I'll pick the Patriots over the Jets. Next, you got Falcons at Saints. I think the Saints get this game with better quarterback play from Derek Carr, but I don't think it'll matter because Baker Mayfield and the Bucs will win, and that will mean that neither of these teams will be able to make it into the playoffs, in my opinion. But I'll pick the Saints over the Falcons. Next, we got Jaguars at Titans. I don't see how the Jaguars lose this game. Whether Trevor Lawrence plays or not, they seem to be able to get it done even with a backup quarterback, and the Titans are just so bad. And of course, they're rebuilding. I'm not even sure that Derrick Henry would want to play because there's talks now of him possibly going to another team or getting traded or trying to break away from the team, asking for his release. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. But yeah, picking the Jaguars over the Titans. Then we've got Seahawks at Cardinals. Technically, the Packers hold the 8th spot right now. If they win, they're in. And then there's the Seahawks right here. So I think the Seahawks will get this win, even though, Kyler Murray is something else when, and whether it was him or Josh Dobbs, this is the weirdest thing about this Cardinals team. 4-12, but 2 of their wins are against the Eagles and the Cowboys. How? Josh Dobbs beat the Cowboys, and here Kyler Murray beats the Eagles. How? You lose to all the teams that are worse than Dallas and Philly, but then you beat Dallas and Philly? Go figure. Anyway, I think the Seahawks will get this because they'll play good enough on offense and defense. Get the job done, but I think that they will not make the playoffs because the Bears are facing the Packers. And even though the Bears have been playing, trying to muster up something to play well, and this might be a good matchup. This might be a good battle between Justin Fields and Jordan Love. But I think the Packers as a whole team are better than the Bears. So I think the Packers get this win. But who knows if the Packers lose, and that could open the door for the Seahawks. But they need to win for sure in order to make it in. But I'm going to pick the Packers over the Bears. Next game, Chiefs will get the win, of course, against the bad Chargers. 5-11 the Chargers are. And, of course, Justin Herbert will not be playing due to the finger. And even if he didn't have the finger, he probably wouldn't play in this game either with the team being so bad, just to preserve his health. So Chiefs get the win here over the Chargers. Next, we've got Raiders at Broncos. I think the Raiders win this game. Close loss last week against the Colts, but I think they're a better team than the Broncos overall. And, of course, Russell Wilson is not playing. I don't see the Raiders losing this game, even with Aiden O'Connell just not being that good of a quarterback, even as a rookie. And, a lot of people say I'm too hard on him. But, there are other rookie quarterbacks that are doing good. You have to be able to be ready to play from day one, even if you don't get to play day one. CJ Stroud is doing great. Oh, well, CJ Stroud was the number 2 pick in the draft. Of course, he should be playing better than Aiden O'Connell. Well, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, and he got thrust in at probably the worst time possible, and he started to shine and has been shining overall. So even Mr. Irrelevant, who got picked the last pick in the draft in the 7th round, is doing better than Aiden O'Connell. So you don't have that excuse anymore about, oh, he's a baby, he's a this, he's a that. You got to be ready to go because you never know when your number is going to be called, especially at the quarterback position. But yeah, I think the best thing for the Raiders, if they get the running back situation handled, I still think they need to sign Josh Jacobs to a deal and keep him. They still got Zamir White on a rookie contract, so they don't have to worry about paying him right now. To me, they need both. They need a running back tandem. They need a running back duo, and then they just get a good quarterback via free agency or in the draft in order to help that passing game and help Devontae Adams to get back to the numbers that he knows that he can get. Everybody knows that he can get. And then the Raiders will be shining much better than 7-9 and keep Antonio Pierce as head coach. I know Mark Davis. If anything, he would probably go after Harbaugh just to make sure that the Chargers don't get him. But Antonio Pierce is the head coach of the Raiders. He's a Raider through and through in his heart. He puts everything he's got into that coaching position. He has Super Bowl championship experience by beating arguably the best regular season team ever in the undefeated Patriots until they got to the Super Bowl and lost to Antonio Pierce and the Giants. So that's better experience to me as far as championship experience. That's better than Harbaugh. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. He made it to a Super Bowl, but he didn't win. And I would dare say it was much harder to beat the undefeated Patriots than what he had to deal with the Ravens, because even though the Ravens defense was good, they were facing a quarterback they really didn't know anything about in Kaepernick. So they had to battle the unknown. They still did it. Questionable call at the end. A lot of people were saying pass interference, but I don't think the ball was catchable. But back to this, I think the Raiders get the win over the Broncos. Next, you've got Eagles at Giants. Eagles want to win, put their best foot forward just in case the Cowboys would lose and then they would win the division. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Eagles will have to stick with the 5th seed, but a 12-5 record is still very good. Just shows how competitive the league is this year. And the Eagles get the win there over the Giants. Rams at Niners. This will definitely solidify the Rams having a playoff spot, but the Niners don't need to do anything because they already have the 1 seed. They'll be resting players as well, so Rams will get the win in that one. And then Cowboys at Commanders. Cowboys will win and seal up the number 2 seed in the playoffs by winning and beating the Commanders. And then your Sunday Night Football matchup, they got it right this time. Bills at Dolphins. This is the most important game of this week, because if the Bills win and they already have a win over the Dolphins, they would probably jump to the 2 seed in the playoffs. They have a win over the Chiefs. So even if they had a tie record with the Chiefs and the Chiefs win, they would have the nod over the Chiefs because they beat the Chiefs head up. So they would jump all the way from 6 to 2. And the Dolphins would drop either to 5 or to 6, depending on what the Browns do. So I think they do it. I think the Bills get the win here. And the main thing is the Dolphins are not 100%. Tyreek Hill is not 100% in my opinion. He'll still come to play. He'll still be the Tyreek Hill that we all know and love. But I think he's a little dinged up. And maybe they rest him maybe they have him on a pitch count so that he has enough rest and puts his best foot forward for the playoffs. And then also Raheem Mostert is hurt. Raheem's not 100%. Jalen Waddle's not 100%. If you got Tyreek Hill, not 100%, Jalen Waddle's questionable, and their running game is questionable, and Raheem Mostert's not ready to go against this Bills team, you don't have a shot. All those guys need to be fully healthy, 100% ready to go in order for you to beat the Bills. You already lost to the Bills when they were 100%. You ain't beating them when those 3 guys are not 100%. So I'm picking the Bills over the Dolphins. So Bills, I think, win the AFC East. They jump to the 2 seed. Depending on what the Browns do, then Dolphins drop to either 5 or the 6 seed in the playoffs. So with that being said, then we go to the standings, and then we go to playoff picture. And so I think the final standings for the NFC, you'll have Niners at 1, Cowboys at 2, Lions at 3. You'll have Eagles. We'll go to Buccaneers at 4. Excuse me, because even though they won their division, a worse record, they win their division. That's still how it is right now. Buccaneers at 4. You'll have Eagles at 5. You'll have Rams at 6. And then you'll have, to me, I think it's going to be the Packers. So you'll have Packers at 7. Packers will get the 7th seed, and we'll lock up the 7th seed in the playoffs. And so it'll be Cowboys in the first round. It'll be Cowboys hosting the Packers. It'll be Lions hosting the Rams, which I really don't like because I think the Rams could definitely beat the Lions. But that's what everybody wants to see. That's what the media wants to see, because it's Jared Goff going against his former team and Matt Stafford going against his former team. And who made the better trade right now? It looks like it's the Rams because they've already won a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. and the Rams are looking dangerous right now. So that's what I know everybody wants to see. And then you'll have the Buccaneers, who will probably get throttled by the Eagles in the first round. AFC, you've got Ravens 1. I'm going to say Bills 2. It'll be Chiefs 3. Then it'll be Jaguars 4, depending on what the Browns do, 5 or 6. Then Dolphins will be 5 or 6, depending on what the Browns do. And then it will be, I think the Texans will get the 7th seed. The Texans beat the Colts, and they will get the 7th seed in the playoffs. So you would have, I think the Bills will host the Texans. I'm hoping it's the Chiefs hosting the Browns, and then the Jaguars would host the Dolphins in the first round. So that's what I'm hoping for in the AFC. Just so the Chiefs face the toughest defense, the number 1 defense in the league in their first round of the playoffs. Oh man, it's gonna be worse than the Raider game for them on Christmas Day. Yes. All right. But yeah, that's what I think is going to happen in the NFL this weekend. NBA, not much I'm going to talk about other than I just think it's time for, look, we've always, the biggest thing about the Lakers and LeBron is we've always known that, okay, he needs shooters around him. He needs shooters. He needs shooters. He needs shooters. Why can he never get shooters? Why can he never get shooters? If he needs shooters, why can he never get shooters? Yes, the AD thing worked out because they had the same agent, so that worked out for him. And they won the bubble title because they had a lot of rest in between the layoff for the last third or quarter of the season, and then COVID, and then playing all their playoff games in one spot. But you saw what happened last year when they faced a young, healthy team. They didn't even win a game in the conference championship. I really think that being the best player has its benefits, and LeBron, the best player in the game for so long, has its benefits and also has its weaknesses. Sometimes you get a lot of people who may want to play with you, but you get a lot of people who don't want to play with you because they want to beat you. They want to beat the best player in the game. They want to beat, because they think if they beat the best player in the game, then that makes them the best player. Or they think that you just are undeserved of the title of best player, but hey, I'm on the best team and we're going to beat you. Call it what you will. But for the longest time, it's always been said that LeBron needs shooters around him, and he does. He needs shooters around him. He needs bigs to do what the bigs do, like AD, and stay healthy. And then he needs a good point guard. He needs a good shooting guard. He needs a good 2 and a 3. He can be the 4, or if he's a 3, he needs a good point and shooting guard. He needs a good 1 and a 2. Why can he never get the shooters that he wants? Some people may want to say it's the trades. Some people might want to say it's the the contracts, and this team will trade for this person because he won't allow them to go to a team that he wants to. First of all, why would the Portland Trailblazers, of all teams, if it was great for him or he wanted to go to the Lakers, why would the Portland Trailblazers hold back? Oh, because he's in the same conference, and the Lakers might prohibit the Trailblazers from getting to the playoffs, and they don't want to see their former teammate in the playoffs. Really? There's no point in that. That's not even possible, because the Blazers are not even good enough with Dame right now, or when he was with them. They lost CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum went elsewhere to the Pelicans, and it's just Dame there trying to do it, and of course that didn't work. Everybody don't want to play with LeBron. Everybody doesn't want to play with LeBron. I didn't even see where Dame named the Lakers as one of the places he wanted to go. Everybody knows he wanted to go to the Heat. Why didn't he say the Lakers? Him and LeBron could have made a good tandem with a somewhat healthy AD on and off. That definitely makes them stronger, makes them better championship contenders. If when Kawhi was a free agent, he went to the Lakers and talked with them. Of course, his uncle wanted to meet Magic Johnson and all that stuff. Why did he not pick the Lakers? They would probably have 2 to 3 rings right now. if Kawhi would have picked the Lakers. Instead, he picks the Clippers. He wants to do his own thing. He wants to get other good players on the team. They go and get Paul George. But you got to know that getting Paul George on your team and getting other good players around you does not make you as strong as you would have been had you been a Laker and been with LeBron and AD. And whoever else would have been on the team. That already is a championship dynasty waiting to happen. But Kawhi said no to that. Why would Kawhi say no to that? Everybody doesn't want to play with the best player. A lot of times people want to beat the best player or beat in their minds who everybody else says is the best player, but they in their minds don't think he's the best player. I think you got to implode the team. I think you got to implode the team. I think you get a bunch of young guys and you get high draft picks and you get somebody who will lead them, some veteran players, some good veteran players that will lead them, and you look for your next star. But as long as LeBron's there, I mean, I don't know that everybody, like I said, everybody's going, other good star players are going to other teams to build that super team. To build that, in my opinion, was started with the Celtics, was started with the Ray Allen, the KG, and the Paul Pierce thing. Then it was like everybody wanted their triple trifecta. It could have been that, like I said, with the Lakers, with Kawhi, LeBron, and AD. Kawhi didn't want it. Kawhi was much better content with just having him and Paul George as opposed to him, LeBron, and AD. Can you even fathom that right now? You know what is a better path to a title, what is a better path to a ring. But in Kawhi's defense, well, he already had 2 rings, so what does he really care? Maybe he just wanted to do his own thing and wanted to be in LA and chill in his beach house in northern San Diego. So maybe that's all he cared about. I don't know. But and to his defense also, the Clippers have at least gotten to the conference final, in the West. But everybody doesn't want to play with LeBron. And I think that that's hindering the Lakers. That's my opinion. It's hindering the Lakers. If you can't get a big 3 and Dame doesn't want to go to you, he wants to go to the Heat, he ends up going to the Bucks. The Celtics got their big 3 or 2.5, if you will, and a whole bunch of other good players. And I'm going to get to Celtics in a minute. You got Joel Embiid. He's doing good, but to me, he's only one guy. You got other emerging players on the Sixers. Right now, it seems like the best big 3 going right now is the T-Wolves, and they have the best record in the West. You've got the Twin Towers in Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, and you've got Anthony Edwards. The Nuggets are last year's champions. They're still a threat. As long as you got Jokic, they're golden. You've always got a shot. And as long as all their other young guys can stay healthy, then they will always be a threat. But I mean, the T-Wolves are doing what I thought that they would have done last year. I mean, it just took some time to mesh. I thought they were going to be doing this last year, but it didn't happen like that. And then the Celtics, T-Wolves are at the top of the league, but on top of the West right now. But I'm gonna be second guessing myself with them. Anthony Edwards going to do his thing, he's going to get his points, but then it's like, to me, when the Twin Towers need to shine, one of them falls short. Or both of them. And it just seems like, I mean, 24-9 is still a good record, best record, but it's still a long way to go. So I'm not really just sold just yet on the T-Wolves. But we'll see as it continues. But the team that to me has the most pressure on them is the Celtics. The Celtics have no excuse for not winning a title right now. They've got everything they need. You add Drew Holiday for extra added defense on whatever point guard when he's healthy. And what else do you have to fear other than one big on one team? Yes, the Bucks have Giannis, but that's one big. Yes, the Sixers have Embiid, but that's one big. There's nobody else that really strikes fear to the heart of the Celtics in terms of a good overall all-around team, because you can pretty much neutralize anybody else who would be a good player on an imposing team, except for a big, that true big, because the Celtics, to me, haven't, even as good as they are, they've never really had a true big, or one that could at least neutralize, not shut down, but neutralize another big or an opposing team's big. So, but other than that, I mean, they're always competitive. They're always in the playoffs. They're always competing for a title. This is the year they have to do it. Because what I'm seeing here is if they get the number one seed come playoff time, that's the best foot forward, because then the Bucks and the Sixers will more than likely face each other in the second round. You want that to happen. You want those two to slug it out and knock each other down to the point where whoever emerges from that won't have enough left to get by you in the conference final. That's what you want. I'm not saying that you want that because it's the easiest road, but you want that because you don't want to have to deal with going through both of them again. And like the year that they went to the conference, they went to the finals and faced the Warriors, they had nothing left. They were gassed because every single round, except for the first round, they went to 7 games. They went 7 games against the Bucks. They went to 7 games against the Heat, and then they had nothing left come to get to facing the Warriors. They were flat. They were slow. They were everything. If you know that it's better for you to be able to snuff a team out in 5 to 6 games, no more than 6, then you've got to put your best foot forward in the regular season and make sure those two go head to head before one of them faces you. Remember, play smarter, not harder. Play smarter, not harder. So, in regardless of what happens, even with the Heat being who the Heat are, it can come from the play-in tournament and go all the way to the finals, which is crazy. Which will now continue to justify the play-in tournament, along with the Lakers, and what they came from the play-in tournament as well, to get to the conference final. Now that thing is going to be mediocrity that's going to be here to stay. But anyway, Celtics have no excuses. They have to win a title this year, because you don't know how long this window is going to be open. You don't know how long this window is going to be open. To me, they're the best all-around team in the league, from top to bottom. Top to bottom, the roster, starting with Jason Tatum all the way down, is the best team in the NBA. But they got to go out there and prove it come playoff time. That'll be it for this edition of Scout Team Sports. I am your host, DeValian. We're shutting it down a little early on this episode. I appreciate all my subscribers. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Be safe this weekend. And I will see you next week with the Midweek Scramble. I appreciate all those who are tuning into the Midweek Scramble, my YouTube short. That's getting a lot more views than this is. So I will continue to get with that. And I do see my frat brother Raul, who is in the mix. I do appreciate you, Raul. Appreciate you for tuning in, sir. Go Mob. And miss you guys out there in San Diego. But I will continue to go forward, push forward with this podcast. I will continue to move forward with the podcast and grow this thing to what I know that I can make it. Just got to get some more resources and get things in hand. But prayer is always going to be at the forefront of me pushing and continuing to move forward. So once again, I appreciate you, Raul, for tuning in. And this has been the live stream for Scout Team Sports. Again, tune in for the Midweek Scramble YouTube short every Wednesday night. And then sometimes Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And I will see you guys next weekend on the podcast. I will actually be on the road for work, but we'll still get it in. I'm still going to get it in for you, whether it be like Friday night or Saturday morning. I'll get it in for you. You will have your episode. And like I said, as we move out of football, we'll transition more into the NBA, and we'll be heavy NBA once football is completely over. But that has been this edition for Scout Team Sports. I appreciate everyone who is watching and is going to watch later on the replay. Tune in like I said, every Saturday morning, usually at 10 a.m. Pacific time, unless I've got to do a schedule change. And but you will have your episode. Appreciate you, Raul. Of course, go mob. And I will see everybody next week. Believe until you stop breathing. This has been The Valiant with Scout Team Sports.